And now it's time for the Impact Wrestling Report. Here's your host, Mathew Shaffer.
Good evening, guys and gals and children of all ages. Welcome back to another edition of the Impact Wrestling Report. I'm your host, Mathew Shaffer. You can follow us on Twitter at After1Wrestling and at OneWrestling. Also, don't forget to visit OneWrestling.com for all of your news, information, videos, and highlights, and more. And you can follow us here on YouTube by subscribing and liking to this video. Again, I'm Mathew Shaffer. Follow me on Twitter at Mathew_Shaffer and on Instagram at Mathew_Shaffer. Let's get rocking and rolling. It's time for another edition of the Impact Wrestling Report from June 7th, 2018. So tonight's Impact starts out with a bang. No promo, no words. We're getting right down and dirty to the Tag Team Championship. That's right, as the Tag Team Champions, Z and E, DJ Z and Andrew Everett, defended their Tag Team Champions against Drago and Aerostar, and let's tell you, it was a action-packed tag team match. It did at times seem like it was just a tad bit too long. However, I enjoyed the match that was put on. Let me go ahead and break down some of the highlights for this match. Started with DJZ and Drago going back and forth with submissions. Everett and Drago tagged in and showed off their acrobatic skills with a backflip challenge, or as I guess you might say, like a flip-off. So two competitors were trying to show who can do better somersaults or backflips around the ring. We then continued on with Drago and Everett went back and forth with an array of high-flying moves. Midway through the match, we saw DJZ take on both Drago and Aerostar, so a little bit of one-on-two action, and he was able to perform a flurry of different moves on them itself, which you'll see here, as you can take a look at the image. And however, the challengers ended up taking back control of the match. Drago and DJZ then brawled to the outside as they went into their first commercial break. Now, when we came back from the break, Andrew Everett was already in control of the match itself. We ended up seeing both teams moving back and forth just a little bit, about 5 to 6 minutes longer. In the end, we ended up seeing DJZ hitting his DJT, and then Aerostar with his 650 off the top turnbuckle, picking up the 1-2-3, retaining the Impact Championships, Impact Tag Team Championships. Josh Matthews and Don Callis are now in the studio. Callis talks about how Impact is doing everything they can, but still don't know who the mystery attacker is. They also talk of the Forest Street fight between Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards, or as I told you last week, the fight in the forest. We go backstage and we see Sanjay Dutt and Petey Williams arguing, and they're both going back and forth, alluding to whom may the mystery X attacker is. Sanjay Dutt ends up insinuating that Petey Williams possibly is that mystery X attacker, as he is, was noticeably absent during each and every attack. However, this enrages Petey Williams, and he ends up taking his ball and chain and leaving. Well, he went home for the night, just I guess to cool off. Which is probably smart. I don't know if you should have got behind the wheel while you're angry. Hopefully he had somebody driving him. Or maybe they were in Canada, so maybe he just walked home. I don't know. We then get a video recap of the Knockouts title match from last week, in which Su Yung captured the Knockouts Women's Championship over Ali. Then showed some clips of the Undead Bridesmaids showing their admiration for their new queen, or Undead Queen, of the division itself. It also kind of showed a coffin on fire, so maybe it's alluding to Ali's maybe alter ego is dead, or that maybe Ali is going away for a while. Who knows? Go to the great GWN vault match between Tommy Dreamer and Rob Van Dam. And looking at my paper here, in case you're wondering, I don't know who won the match. That's what I wrote down. I guess I didn't watch that. It probably doesn't matter. I mean, it was from TNA No Surrender, I think, or Turning Point. I don't know. Something from back in the day. Something for them to fill time rather than showcasing more matches or talent. But I digress. We're then back in the LAX clubhouse, and we see Diamante return, and she asks what's going on. Conan and Homicide are both missing, and they seem to both go missing itself as soon as King showed up. How about, implying that he's involved some way. And Kingston rolls into Ortiz and Santana, tells them let's get ready for their match. So they basically kind of have like a little powwow. So Diamante ends up not coming out to the ring with the entrance. King does. LAX jumped the Cult of Lee as soon as they get into the ring, perhaps probably showing like a very, aggressive side, because it just came out hot. It came out hot and fast. All right, and some of my notes here is that LAX comes out fast and furious with a barrage of forearms and punches, driving Cult of Lee into their corners. So, like, basically, it took him right to the corners, started beating him down. Cult of Lee then midway through the match tries to fight back. I mean, for the most of this match, it was pretty much LAX. They just came out and beat down Cult of Lee. The Cult of Lee, like I said, tried to slow down the match a little bit by applying some more submission moves and some more slower-based tactical, logical moves itself. However, in the end, LAX defeated them. They hit him with the double team cutter. They pinned Conley at 1, 2, 3. So I don't know if that's going to continue. I guess it continues. The thought is King running the LAX, and where is Conan and Homicide? We then get Eli Drake's Fact of Life, and he breaks down the top 5 dummies. Number 5 being the fan with Impact Wrestling. Number 4, Austin Aries. Number 3, Impact Management. Number 2, the Impact fans again. And number 1, Moose. And before he can finish his catchphrase on Moose, Moose comes out to the ring. Moose reminds him that he lost the tag team titles, and he actually lost the world title to Pentagon Jr. So he, in fact, is the dummy and loser. Drake tells him that he does not need gold, but then cheap shots him. Moose does eventually fight back, however, in what looks like to be now a thing in professional wrestling again. Eli Drake low blows Moose, and he delivers the gravy train. And to add to the damage, he then drops the podium onto Moose itself. And it looks like here we're going to be setting up either a number 1 contenders match between Moose and Eli Drake, or the match itself will just be a blow-off on a future Impact match. We then go to commercial break. We come back, and we've got Raju versus Brian Cage, this is essentially a squash match, so I don't need to go into too much detail. You know how these work. Raju tries to come out, get quick offense. Brian Cage stops it, destroys him, and pins him 1, 2, 3. So after the match, Matt Sydal comes out, and he tells Brian Cage that he feels like that Brian Cage is the next big thing, the most unstoppable force. However, he does feel like that he can see his inner weakness when he looks through his third eye. But he says that his weakness is not permanent, that he can help fix it and make Cage strong in Impact Wrestling. And all Cage has to do is give up his X Division Championship match, or his X Division title shot. Brian Cage doesn't really say anything. He just kind of picks him up and F5s him, and that's how the segment ends. Fun stuff. Now, this was one of my favorite segments of the night. It showed Eddie Edwards in the car driving up to the forest. He's got the cameraman on. He tells him, hey, you keep rolling no matter what, right? I do wish maybe they had filmed some more, like maybe him packing up his car beforehand, maybe kissing his wife or something, and maybe cut over to Sami Callihan, like just going crazy in the woods. Maybe he's already there, like working out, but I digress. We then, after that, get a Skype interview with Austin Aries, and Josh Matthews is interviewing him. Josh ends up asking Austin if he has a preference on who he faces at Slammiversary, Eli Drake or Moose. Eli Drake is 0-2 versus Austin Aries, he says, and as well, he doesn't believe that Moose is ready for the World Heavyweight Championship match. Matthews asked about the low blow from last week in which Aries beat Pentagon on, and Austin Aries says that, look, Ric Flair had to do what he had to do to win championships, and that's what he's there to do. The point is, he's the champ. He ends up being asked by Josh Matthews who he thinks is going to win the match next week, and he thinks Eli Drake is going to win because Eli Drake knows what it's like to win under pressure and has the mental toughness. I guess that's not foreshadowing that we're going to be getting Moose versus Austin Aries. However, I'm not reading spoilers. I'm just thinking logically. We then get a couple things here, just some Impact news and notes. Josh Matthews ends up revealing that Johnny Nitro Mundo Impact is going to be coming back at Slammiversary. We then get a video recap match of Madison Rayne talking up her match with Tessa from last week. She says she didn't intend to get back in the ring last week, but now that she's glad she's done it. Madison doesn't think the Knockouts Championship is far out of reach. She's got her sights on becoming a 6-time champ. All right, and now for the main event. Eddie Edwards, Sami Callihan, fight in the forest. So we end up seeing Eddie Edwards looking for Sami in the woods. First, he ends up seeing Jake Christ in a tree shouting everything, but Jake then seems to disappear. Kind of odd. So I'm going to break this down a little bit for you, segment by segment. So Sami ends up sneaking up behind him with the camcorder, but Eddie sees him. Callihan runs off, but then Jake attacks Eddie. He's tossed into a tree. Eddie then chokes out Jake with a large branch. Then he stomps him for good measure. So if you're not aware who, Jake is and who all these people are, it's OVE, so pay attention. He takes the OVE mask from Jake and goes to his car. He tosses the mask in and grabs a kendo stick. But in the trunk is Dave Christ, who tries to attack Eddie. Like his brother, no dice. Edwards chokes him out and then slams the trunk on his torso. Finally, Callihan is back, charging at Eddie. Now it's bat versus kendo stick. It's brutal, but Eddie looks to get the upper hand when he tosses Sami into a tree and grabs something. The bat? The same one? He shoves it into the forehead of Callihan, busting him wide open. Eddie then says, "Sami, time to die." A car then ends up driving up to the scene. And Tommy and Alicia both get out of the car and they're pleading with Eddie, please stop. And Eddie ends up turning back to Sami and he's gone. Eddie Edwards is now pissed, saying it's not over. Tommy tries to tell him it's over, so Eddie ends up nailing him with the bat. And we're left seeing Alicia tending to Tommy Dreamer as they both leave. And that's basically how the show ends. So that is Impact Wrestling. The Impact Wrestling Report. I'm Matt Shaffer. We hope you appreciated this week's edition of the Impact Wrestling Report right here on the After One channel, right here on OneWrestling.com. Please come back. Please subscribe. You can also follow me again on Twitter at Matthew_Shaffer and on Instagram at Matthew_Shaffer. You can find me as well in the Hami Media Group and on Hami Media Group on Twitter if you want to converse about wrestling. That way, I help moderate those accounts as well. Thank you so much for dropping by this week's edition of the Impact Wrestling Report. Have a good night, people.